a very community-oriented exhibit. What can you say? It's down to earth. The museum is not snotty. It's not a snooty kind of place. It's a community. Everybody's really doing extraordinarily well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be able to introduce our play for this evening. The play is called The Two-fers Look at Mental Illness. All the actors of this play are members of Friendly Harbor. Now, the Two-fers, as you will see, are creatures from another planet, and we are privileged tonight to have our very own Two-fer. Traveled a long ways to be here. This particular Two-fer is a scientist who has visited the Earth periodically in order to study our ways of being separated by so many bewildering divisions, dissimilarities, and divergencies. For you see, ladies and gentlemen, the Two-fers come from a planet that avoids many of our problems and conflicts simply by eliminating any differences amongst themselves. For example, they have no genders, no racial or cultural diversity. They have no developmental stage called adolescence. They have no politics. They have created peace by eliminating things to argue about. Now, some of us would think this would be an ideal utopia. So why not do this? Well, for starters, it becomes pretty boring after a while. But even more importantly, we would deprive ourselves the opportunity of building skills of empathy and dialogue and the give and take of compromise and working through conflict. But most importantly, we would erase the most valuable and enriching experience known to us as humans, which is to learn about ourselves from the other who is different from us. So, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats. Hold on to the person next to you. We have just passed over into the Two-fer zone.
Well, here we are, Molly, back on Earth again.
Yeah, so different from our home planet. All these brilliant blues and greens, they hurt my eyes.
I know, me too. Us Two-fers never get tired of dull monotones, strikingly framed by even duller monotones.
Oh, home, bleak home.
Miss it already.
So, Rodo, I don't really care what we're going to investigate this time, but I want to get in and out of here really fast.
I know, it's hard to be around these humans for too long. Like being around beings cut right down the middle and then walking around with one head nonchalantly talking to each other.
Gruesome. Send shivers up and down my tentacles. How do you manage it so well, Rodo?
Well, I think about how miserably lonely these poor folks must be, Molly.
Poor, pitiful souls.
Long ago, our great Two-fer philosopher, Dos Platos, proposed a theory about these humans. He speculated that once upon a time there were beings not unlike ourselves, but instead of being joined side by side, they were joined back to back. They were powerful hunters and gatherers and lived in a beautiful paradise.
I bet they were really happy and they were complete.
But they began to have a forbidden craving.
They craved so awful much
that no matter what the consequences,
they just had to
see one another face to face,
front to front.
So with each new generation,
they turned a tiny little bit more towards each other.
And then came that fateful generation
when, like two bubbles with a common wall,
they suddenly
popped apart
and looked at each other face to face, front to front for the very first time.
Yuck!
No, Molly, they actually admired what they saw.
What's up with that?
Well, as you can imagine, it didn't take long until trouble started in paradise, and these pathetic half-beings found themselves expelled.
And then these pathetic half-beings went back and forth,
trying to merge in heavenly bliss again.
What they call love.
And just when they think they've got it figured out, they end up flying apart in rageful quarrels.
And tedious squabbles.
Or deadly standoff.
All because of their precious individuality.
But there's an even darker side, Molly. Turns out every generation, one of their kind is born merged together.
Identical twins.
No, Molly, they call them Siamese twins.
Well, these Siamese twins, they're honored and revered like the harbingers of the new paradise, right?
No, they're treated as freaks. And as soon as they can, they take them to a special center where a fellow who's good with knives slices them in two.
Oh my God, these people are ghouls.
Well, we are scientists. Remember, Molly, scientists. It's not for us to judge other planetary cultures.
You and your blasted objectivity. But Roto, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be sliced away from me?
Don't go there, Molly. That's blasphemy. But, well, maybe. When you clip your tentacle nails at the dinner table...
Give me a break. How about when you ate all that stinking sauerkraut and you gave me all of the gas? You think I didn't want to cut you away?
Yeah, well, what about the time you ate up all the carrots right there in the middle of the grocery market? Everyone was looking.
And I turned bright orange,
Yeah,
just
so
like
did
him.
I. So did I, Molly.
Yeah,
and
what
then
of
there's
it?
the Snuffleupagus. Yeah, you remember Snuffleupagus. You fell so hopelessly in love with Snuffleupagus that I had to drag you around for weeks like some mopey, moonstruck teenager.
Give me a knife. My kingdom for a knife.
Okay, look at us. Only just arrived on Earth and already squabbling like humans. I should have thought to bring our medical masks.
Yeah, these humans, they are so contagious.
Okay, back to business, Molly. Our mission this trip is to make rhyme or reason of what humans mean when they label one of their kind, mentally ill, as distinct from mentally healthy.
They are always making these picky-wicky distinctions and making out like they're earth-shattering differences.
I know. It's because every one of them is always trying to be some extraordinary, unique individual.
But from our lofty point of view,
They
they
all
all look
look
the
alike.
same.
Precisely, Molly. Just look what they did with the variations in their skin colors.
Yeah, just a little smidgen more brown here, smidgen more pink there, and they invent all of these bizarre categories of humans.
And each category has all these different nicknames.
Yeah, nigger, spick, Pollock, towelhead, they're all very quaint. But how do they keep track of them all?
And then there's that screwy idea they call status. Some people being termed celebrities and VIPs, being way above the rest, while everyone else is called nobodies.
Nobodies.
Yeah.
Nobodies?
Yeah.
They all have bodies to us, don't they, Rhoda?
I know. They truly believe there's some grand difference between, say, a bank robber and a banker.
And they both steal money from people.
And then there's that teeny tentacle thing they got between their legs. I mean, half of them got it, half of them don't.
They ran with that thing, didn't they?
Yeah, tell me about it. Made themselves believe they're from different planets.
And we abolished that myth really good, huh?
We certainly did. We went to Mars and to Venus.
And there ain't no men on
And
Mars.
certainly no women on Venus.
Case closed, eh, Roto?
Right. So let's get down to business with this mental illness thing. From what I can gather, it has to do with what they call insanity.
Insanity.
Yeah, somehow they have a test or something to divide themselves into two categories. Some labeled sane, some insane.
Well, what about the category of outsane?
I'm guessing that would be us.
Okay, so where are we going to go do this investigation?
Well, we're going to a place called Friendly Harbor, Molly. Word is it's filled with people who have mental disorders.
How convenient. They gathered them all together just for us.
But first, let's put on our human disguise, shall we? And here we are.
Wild and crazy guys.
Ready or not, Friendly Harbor? Here we come. Hi, you guys. We are from Earth. Mind if we come in and chat with you a bit? Even people from Earth.
Come in, my name is Maria.
I'm Ellen.
I'm Chris.
I'm Roto Molly.
Or Molly Roto.
Great. So we're doing a study for the folks back home on the topic of mental illness.
Are all of you guys insane?
Good question.
I suppose that depends on what our president's been tweeting today.
So you guys aren't always mentally ill?
I guess we always have a mental illness, but we're not batshit crazy today.
Well, you see, all those real bad psychotic symptoms were treated at the hospital a while back, so now we can live safely in the community.
Okay. So you had a mental illness, and you got it treated, and you're no longer batshit crazy. So in my book, you shouldn't still be thought of as mentally ill, right?
Well, things are a bit trickier than that. See, we're doing fine now, but we have to make sure we keep our doctor's appointments, take our segments, and watch out for early warning signs and vulnerabilities. Also, we should always use our skills of anger management, addiction awareness, and a whole lot of stuff like that, or else we could have a relapse.
Relapse? So that crazy stuff could come back again?
Okay, hold on a minute there. I think I'm getting this. So those people that are labeled as mentally healthy, they couldn't go batshit crazy, right?
Well, they could.
They could. See, Rodo, just what I always said. They make up all these fine distinctions. You scratch the surface and it's smoke and mirrors.
Well, hold on there, boy. The devil's in the details. I wonder, my good mates, if you could clarify further on how someone who's not mentally ill differs from someone like yourselves, who is.
First off, there are many different sizes of mental illness. So let's just stick with the folks we have here, who need hospital treatment for psychotic breakdowns. That's less than 4% of the population.
Talking about people with schizophrenia and severe mood disorders.
And we're not always treated in the hospitals
Sometimes just left out on the streets.
or put in prisons.
Or they get thrown into solitary confinement if you get suicidal.
Just great for our depression.
So how do you get picked out to have these schizophrenias and severe mood disorders?
Well, we're kind of born with this in our genes.
As a possibility, but it's mixed in there with other factors too.
I've heard it being described as an outcome where there's a number of ways of getting there.
Messed up childhood, had trauma, substances, bad decisions.
Bad luck.
There's no one cause. Genes aren't the whole story. Even with identical twins, it's not 100%. They both get it. It's only 80%.
Well, how about Siamese twins?
Okay, ignore that question, my friend. My friend is from another planet sometimes. Continue.
Well, also there's the factor whether we are diagnosed early and given proper treatment.
Real important.
So you guys didn't get together and decide to become crazy?
There's no way any of us would choose this. It's been an absolute nightmare for us,
And our loved ones.
especially our loved ones.
We didn't have the insight to deal with these issues that we've had.
Or the skills to know what to do about it.
Wait, so how come everybody hates you for it? It's not your fault.
I don't think they hate us. They're scared of us, probably.
Maybe look down on us.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't we take this whole show out in the street?
Yeah, so our earthly guests can hear from the normal people out there too.
Get both sides of the story, so to speak.
Good idea. Let's go. So, who are the people in our neighborhood? Our neighborhood. Who are the people in our...
Molly Charnock, look what they call an adult.
Hi, neighbors. How are all of you tonight? You're the healthy ones, right? The normal people. Oh, hey, look at this. So you have to worry about taking your meds and relapse signs and symptoms. Well, that's a brave guy. We've had not anybody like that before. So you're willing to say you have a mental illness. Cool. How many of you guys are willing to say you have a mental illness or a substance disorder? Oh my God, you guys are phenomenal. You know, I don't know if you read it in there, but actually, when we usually do this, it's like this. You're like this, and then you find one person who kind of looks like maybe I should tell you. But the fact is that 1 out of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 out of 5 Americans have a mental condition or substance use disorder. They're not all the 4% they talked about in terms of needing psychotic hospitalization stuff. But you realize that is the size of the population of New York State and Florida altogether. So that is how common mental illness is. So he admitted to it, and a lot of people admitted to it. So is there no stigma in this group? What have you guys experienced in terms of stigma?
It's, it can be embarrassing. It makes you self-conscious. There's always the fear of judgment.
Yeah, I think the God just turned this off.
And especially in the popular media, TV, radio, film, and everything, mental illness is still portrayed very inaccurately. And I think that's part of where that people being scared of us comes from.
Well, let's talk about that a minute, scared of us. Do you guys think that these people should be more scared of you than they should be scared of each other?
Well, we take our meds and we see a doctor, and we kind of we try to
Self-monitor?
self-monitor.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you think that people with mental illnesses are more dangerous or not?
No.
Oh, you're wrong. Okay, truly, you got to get this, folks. That's because of stigma. We're not allowed to say this.
Yeah.
Let's lie, okay? The truth is, if a person has a mental illness and they don't know they have a mental illness, or they don't accept they have a mental illness, and they don't get the right treatment, and they don't take responsibility for managing it, they're about twice as dangerous as the average American.
I agree.
But good, so we got a smart person out here. But if, like the Friendly Harbor members here we have, that accept they have a mental illness and see themselves as responsible for all of those appointments, that anger management, all of that stuff, they really aren't any more dangerous than the average human being. So that's an important thing to know. Why would somebody not admit they have a mental illness?
I did for a long time.
Embarrassment?
I did it for a long time.
So you didn't admit it for a long time? Do you know why?
I'm just embarrassed.
Okay, so embarrassed. What other reasons? Surely there's something besides that. Donna?
I can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong name.
I couldn't admit that I had a mental illness because I didn't want to be stuck out
Okay.
there.
And so again, it would make you different in a bad way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
I didn't want the hospitalization that goes along with it.
Okay, does it have to go along with it?
Not always, but.
But it was a worry. It was a worry they'd throw you in the hospital. Yes?
Sometimes lack of resources.
Lack of resources. Say more.
They give you a mental illness and don't give you like things to learn, like your signs and symptoms, your runway, educate you about your illness, and just give you some medication. Everyone wants to be different.
Okay, so they give you a label that doesn't feel very good, and then they don't give you the tools to actually do that monitoring and management. I saw a hand over here. Yes?
So usually what I find where they usually can cause is because of social protocol or like bias opinion based on race, religion, sexuality. It's a variable that is one of the key factors in why you want to admit why you have a problem.
Okay.
Be it substance, psychology, anything.
So would people agree that if you're twice as dangerous if you don't get treatment as you are if you didn't, that maybe we should look at this as a serious issue? Does it seem kind of important? So do anybody know anything that we can do to help get people to actually get in treatment and accept treatment? Yes.
I do.
What?
I went out my way to try to be accepted because I had paranoid schizophrenia and the doctors worked with me, but it took me years and years to accept that I had a mental illness and I needed help.
Right. And for many people, it takes some event. You get stuck in the hospital, you commit a crime, you do something like that. But what do we do about all of these people that are just out there? So I'm going to give you a couple facts. Yes?
Oh, I have an idea. What if we did a play?
Yay! Good idea. Good idea. That's very good. So we have two things, actually. Two things we want you to know about what can be done about that. First off, I'm going to give you a little bit of data about Colorado and Pueblo. So first off, do you think Pueblo has a worse problem, lesser problem, same problem as the rest of Colorado?
Worse.
You're right. It's worse. So 2016, Pueblo County Bureau of Statistics, whatever, they looked at all of Colorado and they looked at all of Pueblo County, and Pueblo County has 50% more acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations. And they have 89% more hang on, we're going to talk about that. 89% more of hospitalizations due to suicide attempts. Now people say, well, of course, we have that lovely hospital over there. The fact is, I called them, I said, is that what it's due to? And they put down where you're a resident from. So all of those people in the state hospital, they get counted for, what, Montrose, I don't know, whatever those other places are. They don't get counted for Pueblo. And in addition, I talked to Health Solutions. You know how many they have that actually that's not right. They said that they cannot get anybody hospitalized, the state hospital. The state hospital is now pretty much just forensic patients. And Pueblo patients go to Colorado Springs. So that's something's not right there, eh? So it's not the state hospital. Yes?
When you say that they're 50% more likely to be harmful, is that to themselves or to other people?
No, the 2 times as likely to be dangerous. It
Yeah.
includes everything. It includes hurting yourself and hurting others. The problem with that is it doesn't take much to shift from this to that. That the impulses, one can shift to the other based on little environmental things about who said what to whom. But yes, I don't have the data on that. Okay. So that's Pueblo. In Colorado, we have approximately 47,000 people with schizophrenia. We have 97,000 approximately with severe mood disorders. My addition comes to 141,000 people. How many of those do you think are not getting treatment?
100,000.
Oh, you're even more pessimistic than me. Did somebody else say something? It's 67,000. So almost half, not half, but almost half of the people with that 4%, that really serious illness. And I don't want you to get this wrong. When they're labeled as serious, that doesn't mean a lot of the danger doesn't come out of the rest of that percentage. We're talking 20%, the 16%. Because depression can lead to suicide, depression can lead to shooting, there's all sorts of things. But of the ones that generally require an inpatient hospitalization, that's how many get treatment. So what does the Friendly Harbor do about that, guys?
Well,
What do you
there's
know?
peer specialists that get special training to deal with mental illness, and they kind of help us deal with our problems. And it's like if we're over medicated or anything, they'll help us find a way to get through it.
It's a really supportive environment where it's not only open to people with these diagnoses, but also family members, friends, things of that nature, and it helps to educate the population.
And the peer specialist who is employed at Friendly Harbor is trained to help deal with these issues, but however, it is also someone who is dealing with a similar issue themselves, someone who is also in recovery.
Exactly. So the definition is they have lived experience, that they've been through what it's like to be really nuts, or to be really depressed, or to be suicidal, or to be addicted to a medication or a drug, and they get special training. Okay, so they're not just, I think I'm in more recovery than you, so I think I can help you. So that's special. So what do we know about the benefits of peer specialists other than they help you with these individual things? Everybody remember?
You would know more of the percentages, but a person who's working with a peer specialist is more likely to get into some program of recovery, is more likely to pursue a secondary education and to gain employment.
Yes. Okay, very good. And for, the reasonable taxpayer, things you might want to know about that, is that in fact the hospitalization rate goes down anywhere from 60 to 90%, depending on which study they looked at. There are probably differences in how the peer specialists were used. And the length of stay for those hospitalizations decreased by 70, 90%, meaning they got better. They got back on track faster. They absolutely say they have a better quality of life and are happier. They have fewer symptoms. And funny thing is, the providers like treating them more. And they like seeing the providers more. Because actually, the providers change. That they've shown that the providers become more recovery-oriented, less authoritarian, less do what I tell you to do, thank you very much. And I think the thing that should sell anybody is what it does with cost. New York has done some studies. So New York did a study on use of peer specialists, and they're not doing treatment. They're sort of an adjunct to treatment. So when they had an adjunct of peer specialists to the regular treatment, for every $1 New York spent, they got back $2.28. That's pretty good, right? maybe even more importantly, depending on what your values are, the seriously mentally ill homeless decreased by between 60 and 80%. This is important because mentally ill homeless, these poor folks, they live on average 25 years less than the rest of us. So that's saving lives, if you ask me. Okay, so we got the peer specialist. Where's Joe? Joe Bowers. Joe, can you tell people about this thing called involuntary outpatient treatment?
Well, it's treating people who lack awareness that they have a disease on an outpatient basis. It's often court-ordered. People go by to make sure they're taking their medication, making their appointments, taking care of themselves, have a place to live.
Okay, so this is something that has been shown, again, it was good old New York, and my brain's going a little dead on the percentages, but that they cut down the cost of the entire treatment for New York by almost 50%, 43 to 49%, depending on whether the outpatient involuntary treatment was done in the city versus in rural areas. So they cut the cost, again, huge. And so why wouldn't we all be doing that? Why wouldn't we be using involuntary outpatient treatment? Because we don't much here. We have 13 people in Pueblo that are on court-ordered outpatient treatment. Even though we know, and again, it's not, you need to have some parameters around it. It has to last at least 6 months, and it has to go with intensive case management, but it still costs less. They still pay a whole lot less if you do this. If you do this, intensive case management means you don't have a house, I'm going to try to find you a place to sleep tonight. It means I'm going to try to get you to food banks so you have food. Oh, you'd like to get employed again, see what we can do. So it's somebody coming to your house, working on what that person's desires are to get in treatment, taking them to appointments. So it's sort of hand-holding you to get used to being in treatment. And those people, yes?
Question, when you say court-ordered outpatient treatment, do you mean ordered by a criminal court or a probate court?
I'm talking, civil and probate are the same, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
So one of the problems for Pueblo is we only use it if they transfer an inpatient certification out. And the mental health centers, it takes a lot of commitment and it takes a lot of investment, sort of a passion to make a difference, to take on these patients for the outpatient commitment. You have to go in front of a judge. They can stipulate, just like they can stipulate to an inpatient hospitalization. But they have the right to contest it, and you have to prove that, in fact, they're gravely disabled, meaning they're not taking care of themselves. They don't recognize they have a mental illness, and everybody else in the world says they do, or they're imminently dangerous to themselves or others. So it's the same criteria, but it's not that hard to meet. Generally speaking, and they get to go back every 6 months, and generally speaking, there's a lot of that stipulation. The studies have shown that it's the being told by a judge still has a lot of weight. The fact that somebody says, you know, he told me to do that. He told me it was really important. And you take the risk of being hospitalized. They don't have to hospitalize them. In fact, they very seldom do. So, yes,
Who follows them in Pueblo?
What?
Who follows those 13 people in Pueblo?
Health Solutions. Okay, and we're looking at, because there's a group looking to see if it could be a larger group. Could Pueblo Community Health could do it, or private practitioners. I mean, anybody. So if other people could do it, then we might do it more. But that's the way it is right now. So, any other questions, especially for my colleagues here? Any? Yes.
How do you break to somebody that they have mental illness?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, you know, I think that you start out saying things that you've noticed, behaviors that you notice that don't seem like their normal self. You identify, you look sad, you used to look happy, you're not eating, you're talking, and I don't know who you're talking to, stuff. And you gently move up to, you know, have you wondered if some of your thoughts, are they bothering you? And there's not any one way, depends on where they're coming from. Yes?
What I was gonna talk about is like, I didn't realize I had a mental illness and I was denying it a lot. And then I started going to NAMI and I can talk about it.
Good.
And instead of like being stuck in, I talk about it and I feel more free about it. And all I know is I gotta stay on my meds because I can be dangerous.
Right. Very good. Very good. And NAMI does a wonderful job, and it's part of what that peer specialist benefit is that idea of being able to talk to somebody who isn't going to judge you, who you can just talk about it. You can say whatever is going on, and you don't have to worry that something will happen because of that.
And I'm doing so good. I got a job being a peer coach.
All right. Okay, you guys have been wonderful. I can go on. You guys have been wonderful audience, and I want to be sure that you have a little time to look around before the poet Spiel does a little performance of his poetry at 6:30 back in the Hogue Gallery. So please go back in there and enjoy yourselves.